Good morning. Good to see everybody made it through the eclipse yesterday. I'd like to call the Door County Board of Supervisors to order on Tuesday, August 22nd at 9 a.m. Would you please join me in pledging allegiance to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Indivisible, that's all right.
Roll call, please.
Am I on there or not?
Probably not.
Yep.
There are 19 present, 2 excused. Presentation of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Correspondence. In your packet, you'll find the unassigned fund balance, the letter from Christine Wendler. There's also a letter from Congressman Mike Gallagher regarding the Aquila Resources Back 40 mine project. There's a letter from the National Park Service, which is notifying us, if you didn't read the whole thing, determine the potential for designation of Rock Island Site Number 2 as a National Historic Landmark. Does anybody want to add any correspondence? Dan?
Yes, I got a letter here from Keith and Kristen Breidenhagen. Technically, it's to the Parks and Airport Committee, but I thought I'd tell the whole county board about it. Thank you again for your support and cooperation for plowing the Ellison Bluff County Park. We have enjoyed it all year and look forward to the seasons to come. Kristen and Keith Breidenhagen.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Public comment. Anybody wish to make a public comment? Approval of the minutes of July 25th, 2017 regular meeting.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Comments, changes, additions, deletions, grammatical remarks? All in favor?
Aye.
We're going to move to item number 12, special reports. We'll start off with the NWTC update with Dr. Jeffrey Raffin. Good morning and welcome.
Thank you.
Let's start off. Good morning. I'm Jerry Warwick, and I serve as Door County's representative on the NWTC board, and I just want to thank you for that privilege. It's an awesome organization, very forward-looking, and it's a vital part, I believe, of the economic growth of Northeast Wisconsin as it endeavors to teach trades and all those crafts to those people coming, and the young and the people who are either lost their jobs or looking at new occupations. So again, thank you very much, and I'm going to turn it over to Jeff.
Thank you, Jerry, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. And it's a pleasure again to meet with you as board members and talk to you a little bit about the college. I'm going to do this a little differently than I have in the past. I want to go into a little more depth on a specific topic, and so I'll talk about that in a few minutes. I did put on your desk a packet of information that includes our Friends magazine and includes just a summary of the budget coming up and for this coming year that we have entered into, and also you'll see a packet that of just general information in terms of our placement rate, our graduation rate. Last year we served about 16,000 students taking credit classes, and 9,000 of those students were in programs, and that's actually a 12% increase in terms of the numbers of students that are actually in programs. Although overall the college experienced a decrease in headcount and enrollment, it's primarily among the adult population as they've gone back to work. In actual fact, the number of students that are coming to us from high schools has been on a steady increase for the last 5 years. So we're feeling very good about that as we move forward. We've I think it's in part due to a lot of the dual credit programs that we're providing into high schools. You may be interested to know that over 3,000 students in our district received credit in high school for college. This is credit that was transcripted so they could take it anywhere that they go. They did not pay for that, neither did the schools pay for that. That's about $1.9 million worth of credits that the college essentially arranged to have been provided by those schools districts. Here in Door County, it's about 251 students, about $171,000. Which is a significant increase over the prior year. It's almost double what was done in the prior year. So that continues to grow, and we expect that to be a vital part of what we do. Our college has been engaged in student success initiatives over the last number of years. We've talked about that. That includes things like tutoring and coaching and changing the way in which we're teaching into learning communities, setting up early alert systems, going out and intrusively identifying students that are getting into trouble, in some cases even being able to do some predictive analytics and determine which students are are the most likely to have problems and getting to them right ahead of time. We've actually been surveying our students before they even start in order to identify those who say, well, I'm concerned about the money, or I'm concerned about whether or not I'm going to have enough time to do the work, or, I have a problem at home I think that's going to interfere, so that we can get and start working with these students earlier on. Our goal, of course, is to have every student succeed. We have been as I had mentioned, the enrollment decline that we've experienced among adults, but even with that enrollment decline, we've actually increased the number of students who are graduating each year. So we've moved from a 46% completion rate of credentials to 53%. Our goal is to hit 60% by the end of, by June 30 of this coming year. That's a very significant increase. And we I think, has reflected well on our efforts. It's not gone unnoticed. It's been noticed across the country. We, for instance, were awarded the Community College Financial Empowerment Award. There's a little description of that in here. That even gave us $25,000 that we were able to then put in an emergency fund to provide emergency funds for students who have had something that has come up. Oftentimes it could be just something as little as they have absolutely no gas money, or their brakes broke, or whatever. We also were identified as Ambassadors of the Year for Encores. We were one of only 30 colleges in the nation, and of that 30, only 12 are community colleges that have been identified as leading the nation in transformational change in order to accelerate degree attainment. And out of that, we were then chosen by the Gates Foundation as a case study to be used across the country in terms of how do you go about creating transformational change. So we were certainly proud of that. So what are we going to be doing over the course of the next year? Well, we're actually going to be engaging in our 5-year strategic plan development. The last one that we did expires at the end of this fiscal year. So we'll be back out in your community holding community forum in terms of what is it that we should be doing, what is it that we're doing that you don't like, and what are the best ways in which we can help the business community and your school communities here. We are implementing a new academic planning tool. We're beginning a weekend college in nursing, business management, and software development. We started 2 new programs, a dairy science and a cybersecurity program. We've expanded our culinary program, our electromechanical program up in Marinette, and our utilities apprenticeship. And then we've got a number of process improvements that we're engaged in. But the most important, I would argue, is the work that we're spending on adults. We're creating more flexible options for adults to come, trying to create 8-week programs for them. But also we have come up with a way in which to award credit for prior learning or credit for prior experience. So some of the, when you go back to school, often you've got many years of work experience and life experience that can be converted into credit. Our budget for this coming year is basically limited to, the increase is limited to what the net value of new construction is. As you know, that was a limitation that was placed on us by the legislature. There will be no increase in debt levy. The primary increase that you experienced in this past year was as a result of the referendum. That will hold fairly constant now over the course of the next several years. So the total dollar increase in that levy is 1.8% overall. We've made a lot of progress on this referendum. We opened up a transportation center in Green Bay. We opened up our energy center in January. The Marinette expansion renovation is going well. The College of Business is now all set to go. Sturgeon Bay, the phase 1 is almost complete, and we'll be moving on to phase 2, and I believe there's a phase 3. And then the other kind of exciting project is our NWTC Learning and Innovation Center in Sister Bay, and that we're doing in partnership with Nicolay Bank. And I've asked Jan Scoville to come and talk to you about what we're doing up there and what our plans are and how we expect that to continue to develop. Just before I do that, though, I want to make sure I introduce Cheryl Tiemann. Cheryl, of course, is the manager of the Sturgeon Bay campus back here, if you don't know her. And then I also, our newly appointed Vice President for Learning, Vice President of Student Services, Dr. Colleen Simpson. So, Jan?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's nice to be back in Door County, which is home for me. And my office, when I worked for UW Extension, several of you were still here, was right back in that corner. So I feel like I'm really home this morning. Thanks for the opportunity to update you on the Learning and Innovation Center in partnership with Nicolay National Bank, which will start serving residents in January of 2018. The Learning and Innovation Center is a unique learning venue initiated by members of the town of Liberty Grove, and it was designed with input from the Northern Door community. In your folder, you'll find a handout it was on the right-hand side. It has kind of a light teal color, and I'm not going to go through every detail of that handout, but I do want to hit some high points for you. On page 2, you'll find the history of the project, which goes back to 2015 and progressed to developing a charter to guide our work, holding community listening sessions, surveying residents to identify their needs, acquiring a building, developing architectural design plans, and now beginning renovation in October. On page 3, you'll find the core team's vision. The core team is made up of the original town of Liberty Grove representatives John Lowry, Karen and Dave Studebaker, Mary Pat Carlson, and Nancy Goss, as well as other Northern Door community members and NWTC leaders. Community surveys and listening sessions identified business support, lifelong learning opportunities, and keeping youth in Door County as priorities. This includes providing training for existing businesses to stay competitive and helping new businesses get off the ground successfully. Part of this vision is creating a state-certified processing kitchen for community members wanting to make and sell food products. It also will support local restaurants wanting space outside of their businesses to train their employees on new skills. Pages 4 and 5 show the property located at the top of the hill in Sister Bay and a rendition of future signage. Page 6 is an outline of tentative programming, and more details and marketing will happen over the next 2 months. And I'm sure you'll be reading about that in the Door County Advocate and other news sources. Pages 7 and 8 show the building schematic and a tentative timeline for completing the first phase of construction. The area inside the dotted line will be completed first, and further community surveying will inform the development of the left-hand side of the building. In the next couple weeks, we will be announcing the manager of the Learning and Innovation Center, and I will begin working with that person to get this project up on the ground and marketed and serving the people in Northern Door. I left some business cards with Jill. I encourage you to take a look at the handout in more depth, and I encourage you to contact me either via phone or email if you have questions. I'm very excited to lead this project, and I look forward to providing updates to you in the future. And I'm willing to answer any questions now. We have just a little bit of time yet.
Or if you have other questions for me.
Linda?
I'm looking at this handout here, Dr. Rathman, and I'm looking at FTE, which I assume is full-time equivalent students.
Yes.
All right, and UHC stands for,
Unduplicated headcount,
okay.
so that's individual people.
And then I noticed that the numbers are decreasing. Do you have plans to get that back up where it was a few years ago, or, I mean, it's,
Right. It has been decreasing. We are, some of that is, again, the adult population that has gone back to work. The overall increase for the high school graduates continues to increase. Having said that, however, part of the reason and part of what we're doing in the Sturgeon Bay campus in terms of the expansion is we've expanded space in order to be able to handle our nursing program and then we put in new welding space. We have space that we're using, I believe, for the electromechanical. I'm not certain about that.
Not in Sturgeon Bay.
So, but the answer is yes. And we actually, I think it's going to be the relationships we have with high schools that are really going to drive that.
As Dr. Raffin mentioned in his overview, the number of transcribed credits has almost doubled in the Door County area. So that is our greatest potential for growth in the FTE.
Helen?
Is there any chance of bringing back the lower cost adult classes that probably were the reason that we had higher adult classes? I know I used to teach some of them that were really, really enjoyed by the population, and I think that I've heard a lot of complaints that people really miss them. Is there any chance of getting some of that back?
I think there's some of that and could happen in the Learning and Innovation Center in Sister Bay. The decline in enrollment on the adults that I'm talking about is on the credit side, so it's not really in those particular programs. What we were finding, quite honestly, was we were expending a lot of money and resources for those programs, not getting the revenue back, and saying, well, our first priority is to make sure that we're providing education for community businesses, which is a way for me to say, I wouldn't be counting on it. What we were trying to do is we were trying to help other businesses in the area or other craftspeople be able to run their own business. It's not out of the question. Certainly it's something that I would, if you have specific ideas, I would give those ideas to Jan or to Cheryl. But, it's a low priority.
Else? Okay. Joel?
With your new transportation facility in Green Bay, is there vision of having all the diesel programs down there? Will that retain in Sturgeon Bay, even with this?
No, we are not going to move all the transportation down there. The diesel program up here is primarily focused on heavy equipment and off-road diesel. The diesel down in Green Bay will only be trucking diesel, on-road diesel.
Doctor, would you please use the microphone so we can hear you?
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, I was just saying that in the diesel program, and Sturgeon Bay will remain, and it is focused on off-road diesel, farm equipment, heavy equipment, whereas the Green Bay will only be focused on trucks on road.
I have a question. Hi, thank you. I was just wondering if students expressed any concerns for housing, or if housing is an issue for students?
We have not heard of housing as of at this point up here. We tried that many years ago. We tried housing up here, and it worked for a couple of years, and then it just sort of fizzled out. I think it probably depends on the market and how tight the housing market is here. So we'll certainly keep an eye on that. There has been a developer in Green Bay that has built housing. We do not own that. We didn't build it. We didn't use taxpayer dollars for it. But it's only for NWTC students. So that certainly exists. But we'll just have to keep an eye on it. We have not heard issues from students yet.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have the DCECD update with Caleb Frostman. Good morning, Caleb.
Good morning.
All right, good morning. Thanks for having me. I'll get you out of here by 10:30, I promise. No, Ken asked me to keep it brief, which I will. Appreciate the opportunity to give you guys an update as to what we're up to at the DCEDC. Do I have a little, is this my,
Yeah, once we get it up.
Oh, okay.
Get that to go forward.
next, I assume?
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Once we get it up, we'll show the first side, this little outline as to what we've been up to, and then we can dive in a little more detail. But I think most of you folks are familiar with our Grow Door County initiative, which was born out of a community conversation we had last year with 90 community stakeholders, meant to address a lot of what the NWTC folks talked about, kind of this workforce crunch, which has been top of mind for a lot of folks for a long time. And trying to put together a strategic plan and a number of initiatives that will not only combat that issue, but hopefully in the end, make some forward progress and try to conquer that. So I can jump to the next piece. So Grow Door County is a very, very primary focus for us. The initiatives underneath that, we continue to deliver pretty strong entrepreneurial support. I'll dive into some of those programs as well, in addition to some other pieces that we're working on between buy local legislative days, different task forces, and those kind of things. So I will skip forward. This is what I just went over. Oh, there we go. Okay, so Grow Door County, like I said, it was about this time last year, September of 2016, we got 90 people in a room and kind of decided what are some of the issues we are facing in terms of workforce and what are some real tangible ways to make a difference. And the three main initiatives that came out of that were a stronger business and education partnership for all of Door County, kind of a better long-term retention strategy for our youth. Then the second bullet point, I made this show up many times, but it takes a long time to grow a new worker, full-time worker. 18 years and 9 months is a long time. So to get more full-time workers here, we have to, you can't just rely solely on organic growth. So how do we increase net in-migration to our county? How do we attract folks here? And we've got some ideas on that. Oop, I skipped a little forward. That's okay. And the last piece came up with the last speakers as well was the attainable housing piece as to how we can, put our shoulder to the wheel and try to make some progress there. So with the Business and Education Partnership, we've got many initiatives which are really meant to try to better connect the business community to our students and have a better track record in terms of long-term retention for our students. And Door County is not unique as far as other rural areas in terms of combating brain drain, but I think it is a little exaggerated in the sense that, due to our geography at the end of the peninsula, our seasonality, and to some extent our demographics, having about a third of our population being 65 and older, we have some unique challenges as far as retaining our youth. So one of the ways we're doing that, we were very, very fortunate last year to receive a grant from the Raybrook Foundation to implement the Inspire software module, which I don't know if you folks are that familiar with academic and career planning, but it's a mandate put forth by the state that goes into effect this school year, where every 6th through 12th grader in the state has to have, at any given time, an academic and career plan for themselves. And so what was out there was a software module called Career Cruising, which allowed students to do just that, kind of align their skill sets with different careers that were out there. And the grant for Inspire allows the students to sign up for work-based learning opportunities, research the employers that are out there, and actually interact with them, set up job shadows, youth apprenticeships, internships, those kind of things. We've had really, really good success with this thus far. Every business we presented to has signed on to Inspire, which has been 28 to this point. We are hoping to have about that same amount in the next year as we look to hire a new manager for this position. But it's been, like I said, wildly successful among the businesses. Southern Door School District is live. They went live at the end of last May, so it's not been used much. But we're working really hard on that because it's a very positive piece for our youth. You may have seen some press recently that we are resurrecting the high school and construction project. We just bought a lot 2 weeks ago over by Spring Oaks by the YMCA here in Sturgeon Bay. That's been an incredibly popular, hands-on, on-the-job workforce training for our youth, not only training for them, but also introducing our home-building employers to possibly their next generation of workers. And not just workers, but from what I've learned about this process, kind of the next generation of leaders on the jobs that they find, not just employees, but some of their workforce leaders. That's been a fun process to get that started. Again, we hope to be breaking ground kind of within the month of September. Another interesting and exciting piece, we are in the final planning stages of our first manufacturing days, kind of in the vein of the success of shipyard tours at Bay Ship. We want to also introduce our students and the general public to the careers and the fun things going on within the Sturgeon Bay Industrial Park. So Friday, October 20th, the plan is for the high school sophomores throughout the county to come down to Sturgeon Bay, visit 3 businesses for about an hour apiece, and then the idea would be the second day, Saturday, would be open to the public from 9 to noon, and ideally students would bring their parents to show them what they learned, and also perhaps to see the other 6 businesses that they didn't get a chance to see on Friday but heard were so exciting. So Kewanee had one of these last year, was wildly successful with 2 businesses. We've had 9 commits so far, and I think that's a good number to start with, so we're looking forward to introducing students there. We continue to do some other programming with this piece as well, but I'll move forward. Again, this attraction piece, this increasing net in-migration, the attraction and retention of new families to the area. We were very fortunate to receive a capacity building grant from the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, which was part of our Grow Door County initiative. And the idea there is to develop and implement a marketing program and a platform that sells Door County as a place of full-time residence to people, and we're going to be focusing mostly on people that are already familiar with and know and love Door County, whether that's a seasonal homeowner, a person that vacations here. So we're excited to put forth some effort there. We've got, it's a $50,000 grant, it's a matching grant, so we're very close to solidifying our matching $50,000 and kind of moving forward on that. We continue to work with Next Gen, which is our Young Professionals Network. We deliver programming through that once a month. There's regular networking, karaoke type young people fun stuff, as well as professional development, first time home buying seminars, seminars on affordable housing and how it affects our county, those kind of things. So we've had pretty strong success with Next Gen as well. Again, it came up with NWTC. It's been a focus of ours for many, many, many years, but affordable, attainable, whatever moniker you want to use, workforce housing continues to be a focus for us, and kind of where can we add value. I think we would, we helped recruit Bay Lofts to the area as part of the Sturgeon Bay Westside Waterfront. We were fortunate to receive a grant through the National Association of Realtors in conjunction with Lakeshore CAP and Peninsula Filmworks to put forward a home buyer assistance video, which launched this spring. We've been very, we've had an attainable, affordable workforce, many different names throughout its life, housing task force that serves as kind of, folks can come to that task force and learn about what's going on and also bring ideas to the task force as to what we should be doing. And one of those things that we've been discussing in detail as of late is searching for sources of funds for a comprehensive housing study to try to quantify the need in terms of units and also, in which rent strata, in which single family price point. I think there's a recognition of need for housing. We want to make sure that it's the right type of housing. So I think a lot of different municipalities and organizations are discussing that, and we have a meeting at the end of this week to kind of put that forward. So we're excited. That can be used either for marketing for developers to come to the area or municipalities to kind of prove the need. So we're excited to get those groups all in one room and to discuss that study. We have traditionally and continue to deliver a lot of entrepreneurial support for our county's young businesses, new businesses, and budding entrepreneurs. One of those ways is through our RLF programs. We administer 3 of them, one of which is for the county. Since the inception of that RLF, we've had 33 approved for $6 million, created and retained more than 1,000 jobs. We did 1 new loan in 2016. We've done 1 new one in 2017 and extended an existing loan as well this year. Other real value adds for the community in terms of entrepreneurial support. We do a lot of business counseling that is, one-on-one from DCDC folks, as well as providing access to a small business development center counselor once a month, and this has been really, really popular. 5 90-minute slots a day. They are free to the community if they want to use them. DCEDC just covers this person's mileage, and they groups have come in, people have come in, started businesses, existing businesses have tweaked their business plan, asked about expansion, asked about different market penetration, and they found it extremely valuable. So we're excited to deliver that, as well as the entrepreneurial training program. We do that in conjunction with the Small Business Development Center. Had 11 businesses go through the program this spring, are taking inquiries for next year. So that's a big piece of what we do, is trying to make sure we can foster and support those entrepreneurial instincts and give access to either counseling or capital that folks wouldn't have otherwise. And then kind of existing business support, we've had, responded to many requests in 2016, about on pace for the same this year. We continue to be a point of contact for grants and tax credits and things of those nature for existing businesses in town. Our incubator, which you may have seen, is under construction right now. We're putting a new roof on the older half of the building to kind of mitigate some old patching and those kind of things. But that is, we have 20 tenants and 21,600 square feet leased, which is essentially all of our rentable space, which is a great problem to have. We have, a lot of folks have inquired and have been able to support a lot of entrepreneurs that are looking for something more than what a home office can offer, and at a more affordable rate, and having greater amenities available to them, such as a forklift, a conference room, AV equipment, an industrial copier that they wouldn't have at home or in your normal commercial space. So excited that that's doing as well as it is also. And then kind of the other initiatives, we're excited. We just kind of finalized our buy local schedule for this year, which encourages folks to hence buy local, as well as to network. I know Rob Burke was here 2 months ago to kind of recap legislative days, had a highly successful event this year, about 130 attendees, which is near the most we've ever had. 30 of those were high school students. It was great to expose youth to that kind of event. A pretty well-balanced budget, and I think, or not budget, excuse me, agenda. And this time of year, generally we have a little more insight as to how we've done in terms of the state executing on our agenda, but with the budget being delayed in the first place and the Foxconn legislation kind of superseding the budget and now working on the budget again, we'll probably have some more clarity soon as to how our 5 agenda items have fared in the budget process. We continue to be highly focused on providing broadband infrastructure throughout the county. We've got a couple of task forces that meet regularly, and also we are working, the workforce task force was reinvigorated last year with this workforce crunch to again identify opportunities, issues, and one of the things that we've discussed most recently as part of that committee is to have a Grodor County update in early November to kind of let folks know how we've progressed, those stakeholders that came and gave their insight, gave their energy and efforts, how we've progressed over the last year, and kind of where do we need to tweak it, what can we add, what can possibly go on the back burner, and what do we need to push on even harder. So that's going to be early November, and then we also have a DC-EDC kind of internal with our board visioning session happening towards the end of September, moderated by the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. So that is all I have. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And I want to say thanks again for all of your support over the years, and we appreciate it very much. Yes, Susie.
2 things. One, what kind of numbers do you have involved with your next gen in the various activities?
Yeah, it varies based on the programming. I think it's, we've had really strong turnouts in the beginning. I think we'd like to see more of that. It's been kind of a culture building organization we've had. So we had an attainable housing kind of mixer at Bay Lofts 2 weeks ago. We had about 20 folks show up, which is pretty good. And it really does vacillate. We've had as few as a half a dozen and as many as 50. So it kind of depends on the time and place and by nature of the employment in Door County. A lot of folks that are busy this time of year can't make a Wednesday night at 6 o'clock. So we're also taking that into consideration. Ears are wide open and say, yeah, maybe a 5:30 mixer in Fish Creek might, not allow a big portion of our younger population to make it. So we continue to evolve and tweak, but it varies from, like I said, 6 to 50.
Okay, and my other question is about the incubator. How long do businesses usually stay there before they go out on their own?
Yeah, it's a good question. So ideally, we'd like to see them in there for 3 to 5 years and have them graduate. And since the incubator opened in 1997, we've had 21 businesses graduate the center and move on to standard commercial space. We don't want to take the place of a standard commercial real estate operator. We don't, I wouldn't say it's not competitive. We want to really get these people on their feet in terms of having access to those amenities that I mentioned. You can get so much more done outside of home office, but 3 to 5 years is what is in our bylaws, and that's kind of our goal to help folks out. Now, it's a standard operating practice among incubators to have 1 or 2 anchor tenants which provide financial stability. We have a couple of those that have been there for 10 to 15 years, which is a long time, but that's also, you are not scrambling to make, that probably represents 35 to 40% of our space. That would be the anchors in our building, and so they've been there for a while, but that's a very standard practice across incubators, not only in Wisconsin, but across the country. But ideally, 3 to 5 years is what we look at. Other questions? Sounds good. All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Caleb.
You bet.
Next, we have an update from Nicolay Federated Library System and Door County Library with Tina Kukuski. Morning, Tina.
Morning.
Hello, everyone. I'm here to provide information about two subjects today, an updated agreement between the Nicolay Federated Library System and the Door County Library, and also to outline the shared costs and maintenance of the Door County Library, which are covered by the City of Sturgeon Bay and the County of Door. So first off, I'd like to talk with you a little bit about Nicolay. I thought I would start with a little background about this Federated Library System. The Nicolay Federated Library System incorporated and began serving libraries in 1976, and that was 5 years after Wisconsin's library system law, which provided funding for coordinated regional library services, went into effect. And Nicolay is one of 16 library systems in the state of Wisconsin. The Nicolay system has 42 member libraries in 8 counties, and 4 of which are consolidated systems, which we are here in Door. The others are in Marinette, Brown County, and Shawano City County Library. The original or joining a member agreement between the Nicolay Federated Library System and the Door County Library was approved effective April 16, 1991. This agreement provided continuing education, delivery, interlibrary loan, marketing resources, tech support, collection development, travel expenses, and youth service grants. In fact, the mission statement of the Nicolay Federated Library System provides member libraries cost-effective and efficient access to resources, support, and expertise, resulting in vibrant community resources that better serve their patrons. And in addition, membership in the Nicolay Federated Library System includes a shared automation network provided by the Outagamie-Wapaka Library System. This includes our InfoSoup catalog with an extensive collection of links to local, regional, Wisconsin, and national resources, tech support, email service, and statistics. And with an InfoSoup library card, patrons are able to go to any of the member libraries in the Nicolay and Outagamie-Wapaka systems and check materials out. Starting in 2017, the Public Library Development Team of the Division for Libraries and Technology at the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction required library systems to either upgrade or update or provide copies of other verification of various agreements that should be enforced between member libraries and the system. Thus, the Nicolay Federated Library System provided an updated agreement to us, and we have recently signed that agreement. Being a member of Nicolay is essential to help provide the services and resources that our library patrons expect from a 21st century library. Does anyone have any questions about this agreement? Great. Oh, yeah.
Do we have dues or fees to be in this arrangement?
We do have a fee, and that is based on the size of our service population, which I think is around 20-some thousand. And we are the larger consolidated system. And it's over $60,000 to be a member of this. But it provides us with tons of services that would not be available to us if we weren't a member. Yes?
In the updated agreement, what were some of the changes?
I don't think there were any real changes. It was just basically providing us with, giving us information about what we would be provided with. We did have a question about if things were being covered in the Wisconsin state statutes, but we resolved those questions. And the basic agreement stays pretty much the same in that it supports the continuing education, delivery between all of the libraries, interlibrary loan, the marketing resources are wonderful, and the tech support is wonderful. We wouldn't be able to afford separate tech support if it weren't for the Nicolay Federated System. So the updated agreement is just an update because the state required that we do that. Pretty much it covers the same things that we've been getting.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any others? Okay, I'll go on to the next part of what I was asked to do, and that is to outline the shared costs and maintenance of the Door County Library, which are covered by the City of Sturgeon Bay and Door County. This will involve just a short timeline to illustrate how this partnership evolved, because it did evolve over several years. I only went back as far as the resolutions which set the construction of the current Door County Library building in motion. So when construction of the current building was being considered, it was meant to house the Door County Library headquarters and the Sturgeon Bay branch of the Door County Library system. A resolution was approved in May 16, 1973 that stated that the space and use would be almost evenly distributed between these two entities, and that costs of the building, including the architectural fees and contingencies, be shared equally by the City of Sturgeon Bay and the County of Door. Furthermore, after construction, its operation would be placed under the jurisdiction of the Door County Library Board, and the cost of the repairs of the building would be shared by the City of Sturgeon Bay and the County of Door equally. Well, this shared responsibility has become refined in another resolution that was signed later that year in 1973, which stated that the cost of utilities, janitorial services, and all the necessary maintenance and repairs of the building would be shared by the City of Sturgeon Bay and the County of Door equally. Then a resolution was signed in August of '73. It outlined the exact portions of the funding bid to be paid by the City of Sturgeon Bay and the County of Door, which were equal amounts after some funding from the Friends of the Library were subtracted from the total. And the county imposed a condition that the new County Library Board be formed. Another resolution in December of that year, a joint library board was formed to replace what was the current Door County Library Board and the advisory Sturgeon Bay Library Board, and it was stated again that it is hereby understood and agreed that the ownership of the new Door County Library building shall be joint ownership between the City of Sturgeon Bay and the County of Door, such that each municipality shall own an undivided 1/2 in the said building and property. And it further stated that the costs of maintenance, including again the janitor's expenses, insurance, and anything related to the maintenance of the said building and contents shall be divided equally between the municipalities. There was an extra addition at this point. It is understood that all other expenses of operations, including salaries of the librarians, the purchase of books, and other expenses not related to maintenance, shall be borne by the County of Door alone. A purchasing and building committee meeting in September of '74 further refined a maintenance agreement for the library, stating that all expenses be paid monthly, 50% by the City of Sturgeon Bay and 50% by Door County. And as you can see, each resolution that happened furthered the evolution of what was going on with expenses and what was paid by who. And moving ahead to more recent times, actually only to 1991, because of the changes in state law, membership in the Nicolet Federated Library System, shared costs of the library building, the makeup of a consolidated library board, the 7 branch libraries to be consolidated with the Sturgeon Bay Library, and the library board being an agency of the county which created it, the county board created the current consolidated library system and board in December of 1990, and individual agreements with each branch were then drafted and signed in December of 1990. And that's what we're working off of today, is the Sturgeon Bay Branch Agreement outlining the previous financial obligations, and states that it is the intent of the parties to execute a written agreement providing the same arrangement as to the expense of operating the library in the City of Sturgeon Bay as has existed since 1973. So joint ownership of the land and building was confirmed at that time, and the County of Door provides salaries of the librarians, purchase of books, equipment, furnishings, and supplies and other expenses not related to maintenance of the library in the City of Sturgeon Bay. And the City of Sturgeon Bay shares equally with the County of Door in the cost of utilities, janitorial services, insurance, maintenance, repair, and related supplies for the grounds, building, its contents, and equipment located at the library in the City of Sturgeon Bay. This is the present understanding regarding the Sturgeon Bay branch and Door County Library between the City of Sturgeon Bay and the County of Door. And I'm very appreciative on behalf of the citizens of Door County for the support given the library by the County of Door and the City of Sturgeon Bay. So that's a timeline and a history of how that has evolved over the years. Question?
It's my understanding that you have that same arrangement with all the municipalities.
We do. Back in 1990, we had to also have individual agreements with each of the villages and towns and cities that we also have a branch in. It's basically the same agreement. Yes.
One more. Can you explain what you meant by consolidated? I mean, that is kind of unique in Wisconsin, as you pointed out, and how that's different from what happens in other counties.
Well, I came from Rock County recently, and in Rock County, each of the libraries that are in the county, of which there are 7, are each standalone libraries. They each have their own budget. They each are governed by a different city municipality, whatever city they happen to be in. And the county down in Rock County furnishes materials and information and the same sort of support that we get from Nicolay to all of those counties, but they don't have any jurisdiction over what happens to them except what's provided by State Statute 43. In a consolidated county, and this is how I understand it, and again, I'm new to this, so we have a similar situation in that we have several smaller libraries or various libraries of various sizes, but they aren't standalone libraries. They are branches of a consolidated library, and that is the Door County Library. So the Door County Library is created to oversee the administration of these little libraries that are around the county. So we do have control over the budget for all of the libraries, and we do have certain administration duties that apply to all of the libraries. Whereas if it isn't consolidated, they stand by themselves and they're very individual libraries.
Anything else?
Anything else? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tina.
Sure.
Okay, we'll move back up to item 10, our resolutions. First resolution is 2017-53, International Migratory Bird Day. Dan?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Would you like me to read the whole thing? Or I'll just summarize the last 2 items?
Can you?
I'll just say before, now therefore be resolved that the Door County Board of Supervisors does hereby proclaim the second Saturday in May as International Migratory Bird Day in the County of Door. Be it further resolved that the Door County urges all citizens to celebrate this observance and support efforts to protect, conserve migratory birds and their habitat in our community and the world at large. Has anybody got any questions?
Does this have anything to do with becoming a bird city or bird county?
Maintains our status. So just for background, each year it's required that we adopt a resolution to maintain our status as a bird city, but as the county as well.
Any other questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next resolution, 2017-54, approval of mass incident plan. Joel?
I'd like to make a motion to approve this, please.
I'll second it.
Like to
Is,
explain?
Jeff Stronger, I guess in a nutshell what this does, Jeff did a great job of writing this, but it puts the county in a position to have documentation on what to do in what order to cover our you-know-what when what happens, when, to look out for mutual support from other counties, so it's a document that needs to be in place. And if any other questions, Jeff is the one that can answer them.
Jeff, you want to add anything? You'll have to come up to the...
Good morning.
Morning.
I think it's a very important document. We actually utilized it this weekend with the Egg Harbor fire, so it's working really well. We got almost all except I think one signature back on all the endorsements, so everybody's ready to go with it, and it's already working.
So the example was this weekend up in Egg Harbor.
Right.
When the ambulances were coming from out of county.
Correct.
And all the various municipalities around. That was part of this master plan of how it would
Right.
function and operate?
It's part of the mass casualty incident plan. It's basically set up so when our resources are exhausted, how we can get resources up here in a timely fashion, because it takes at least 45 minutes to an hour to get resources up here. So it actually worked really well on Sunday.
Any questions? Linda?
And having this in place would assist with maybe grant opportunities or federal funding or something like this, having this on our record? Or not necessarily
Not necessarily.
a plan?
It is a plan that, we should have in place, and it's in place in most counties. And we haven't had one up until this point. We have a mass fatality plan, but we don't have a mass casualty incident plan.
Okay. Anybody else? Joe?
I'd just like to comment the fact that because of the uniqueness of our county, the way we are, these are tremendous asset tools of what to do. And there's a collaborative effort of not just the county, EMS and fire departments and law enforcement, but resources in from outside. So it's something that we should have, and it's a great tool.
Okay. Anybody else? Thanks, Jeff. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Next item, transfer of non-budgeted funds, Justice Center Fire Alarm Control Panel Replacement. Kathy's not here. Would somebody else from Finance care to? Mr. Fisher?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion, we adopt resolution number 2017-55, the transfer of non-budgeted funds for the Justice Center Fire Alarm Control Panel Replacement.
Second.
And I'll read the therefore on it. The Door County Board of Supervisors does hereby approve the transfer of not to exceed $20,000 from the Door County Contingency Expense Account to the Building and Grounds Justice Center Repair and Maintenance to Equipment Account to fund the installation of a new fire alarm control panel at the Justice Center. Bottom line is the old one is obsolete and they can't get parts for it anymore. And the latest bid was 18,000 something, so we made it not to exceed 20,000.
Okay. Any questions? Comments? If not, we'll go to the voter board.
Didn't catch me?
Yeah.
That has passed on a vote of 20 yes, 1 absent. Ordinances, none. New business, new Human Services Resource Center sign. Start with Biz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everybody. If you'd go to page 37 of 37 in your packet, you'll see some diagrams there of the signs for the old highway shop that we're rehabbing and constructing for the, I guess you could say, the senior center, community center, and the EMS. The EMS committee came up with ideas of what they thought the sign should say, and the property committee did not agree with them. So we have a little disagreement on what these signs should actually say. And as you can see on the diagrams, they're permanent signs, and the construction of them, we've got to get this right. We don't want to make a mistake and then say, oh, we've got these signs out there now and they're not saying the right thing. The property committee discussed this in detail and thought it appropriate, because there's a disagreement on what the sign should say out there, that we should just bring it to the full county board. And that's why it's here, for all of us to take a good look at this and get it right. You can see the signs they're pretty permanent, and the bottom line is, I'm talking basically about the center for the elderly and the food and the ADRC. I think as far as the Door County Emergency Services, that's pretty straightforward, and I don't think there's any disagreement there. But we don't want it, I don't think, we wanted it to say senior center because more than just seniors go there. There's young people go there too that have mental issues and are helped out by the ADRC, and so to say senior center is not appropriate. And also you can see on the diagram up on the far left is that we thought there should maybe even be an electronic message board so that it would state events that are coming up. But to name the center out there, different ideas came up, and members of the property committee, voiced their opinion of what, and I hope that they speak on this issue. So I'm going to pretty much turn it over to anybody on the property committee first to state what they think it should be. So, Dan, you spoke pretty adamantly about this, and I'd like you to share with the whole county board what you think.
One moment.
Sure, can I just provide some quick background for the entire county board? So again, the Door County Emergency Services, I think is pretty straightforward. That one hasn't changed. The one up on top, I think what the discussion was is that, let me just give some context. So under our state contract, we're required to have the Aging Disability Resource Center as part of the signage for the building. It's required to be both outside and then on the door and also when you walk in. So when they discussed that at the committee, I guess one of the ideas was just to call it that. So it'd be the Door County Aging Disability and Resource Center. That was one of the options. When it went back at property, Joe was in attendance, he's not in back, that's why I wanted to provide context. We had actually talked about just the Door County Community Center. And in Joe's mind, that was actually his original preference, was for that to happen, was this be to have the Door County Community Center. Then we'd still have the sign that's required by the state, similar to what we have now, plus the signage on the door. So I don't think it's so much that there's a dispute between the committees. I think it was just an understanding of what do we want the signage to be. In terms of the electronic message board, it was one of the things that Joe had brought up originally that he had wanted, but for fear of costs related to it, he just never brought it up. And I had brought up at the property committee, I said, Joe, this is the time to speak your piece. And to me, it made sense that if we're going to spend the money and we have the conduit there, we should just make the sign what we want up front, just because of the costs related to signage. So again, the electronic message board would tell you what the lunches are for that day, or planned trip for the Brewer game, or whatever they do as far as events. So again, as far as context, underneath the bid, the sign would include everything except the electronic message board. So there would be an increased cost for the message board portion. I don't know what that would be at this point in time, but we'd get a change order and that'd run back through the property committee. So I just wanted to clarify. So I think overall, if you talk with Joe, if he was here, he would agree 100% that he's happy with the sign. In fact, Dan, I even did your question. You always kind of say, Joe, are you happy? Wayne, are you happy? Joe said he's 100% happy and satisfied with the name of the Door County Community Center. And his preference would be to still include the electronic message board as part of the design of the sign. So I just wanted to give that background for the county board.
Dan was next.
Well, the first thing is, when it came to the property committee, is the ADRC Center. And I contended, and I think Grant put it in perfect language, I think I'm quoting him just about, that he said governments change their ideas and change their acronyms and et cetera. And the word ADRC might not be here 3, 4, 5 years from now. Knowing that this is going to be cast in stone, John, I thought I'd say that for you.
What kind of stone?
Local, I hope.
Hard stone. Anyway, it's called, I think, the Door County Community Center and Senior Citizen Center now. Apparently, the older people don't like Senior Center as a name on their sign.
They're elderly.
Elderly people, I don't know, it must be older than me, so. We came up with a Door County Community Center, and at one time, we talked about having it at the community center of Door County, but I think Ken said that we want to have it in consistency with the emergency medical sign. So this is why we came up with this more generic description of what the community center is.
Mark?
I don't disagree with anything Dan said. If we put the message sign on there, we can scroll ADRC on there all we want.
Yep.
Problem solved.
Joel?
I was gonna say, for the record, this never came to Emergency Services Committee, to my knowledge. And I think had it, there would have been none objection, because this is a beautiful sign, in my opinion.
Correct.
Beautiful. And the fact that they're both symmetrical and everything even makes it more enticing, more appealing. And I think we'd be foolish to not have the electronic sign on this. But for the record, it never once came to Emergency Services Committee.
Don?
Yes, the electronic messages, who controls that? Who does it?
It'd be the manager from the, so like Jake, for example, the director or a staff member could actually program it each day for what they want to have as far as the messages on it. So in other words, the staff would actually control it.
Linda?
I think that the name Door County Community Center reflects a gathering space for people of, like you said, all ages, a place for socializing, support agencies are there, not necessarily just for seniors. And like Mr. Austin mentioned, things will change over the years, and community center covers all the bases.
Dave?
So I really have a construction question. We are going to make this out of Door County stone, right? I mean, as dumb as that question is, that is understood, right?
Yeah, the rendering of that stone, I guess in the lower base and the stone to the right is a matching stone that would match the existing.
It's a Door County stone.
I don't know, Wayne, is it, I know they're manufacturing stone that was short where,
They actually found real stone instead.
I know they're using real stone, but I know they're manufacturing it.
Well, on the right side, it's, the first one is 4-inch salvaged stone. So they're salvaging some of the stone that they removed that's going to be on this sign.
Right, but I can't verify that the stone's from a.
Okay, so I'll answer the question about salvage stone. So there are a number of places in that building that called for salvage stone, but quite frankly, we are running out of salvage stone. There's only so much salvage stone on the project, and we have used almost all of our salvage stone. So there are a lot of notes on this project that say salvage stone, but we've pretty much run out of salvage stone. So will it be Door County stone? I can't answer that.
There are plenty of
Will
places within
we
Door
try
County
to get Door
providing
County stone? Yes.
plenty of
Is there a
places to buy.
cost for Door County stone? Yes.
Well,
But we're being conscious. I can go get Door County stone. We'll pay for it, right?
I will be the
What-
negative Nabom of it. You cannot favor a local vendor. It's got to go to the lowest bidder.
Right.
it's funny how this became more of a topic than the rest of it did.
Sure.
Yeah, it would be nice if.
I love reusing an existing building. It's disappointing that the front face is going to be a non-Door County item.
We're not saying that it's not, it's just that I can't verify exactly where they're getting the stone. They're actually cutting, they were gonna use the manufactured stone to make it match, but they're able to find the ability to actually get cut stone that is the same limestone. Now, is that limestone from Door County? I cannot guarantee that.
Right.
Is it part of the Niagara Escarpment? Yes.
There you go. And I have to know where the other stone came from.
So
There we go.
it will ultimately become Door County stone.
It's in the same vein.
I think the other thing that's important for you to understand on these signs is it does have to go to the city's aesthetic review board, okay? So we've done that process once, and these signs are not the original signs from the aesthetic review board. I'm not saying that's going to be a problem, because we've been working with them throughout this process, but just know and understand that we have to go back through their aesthetic design and review board and just get their blessing on this as well. Okay?
Laura, did you have something?
No.
Okay. John?
Also on the electronic sign, I know maybe Wayne can explain this a little bit more. You'll see different electronic signs on 14th Avenue. Some are larger, some are smaller. The YMCA sign, for an example, on Michigan Avenue. And I think this particular sign, if I remember right, Wayne, there's a restriction now? Correct. So there are a number of them that you'll see around Sturgeon Bay that are grandfathered in to the codes and ordinance that Sturgeon Bay has. So the most recent sign that you've seen erected is over across from Mays at the church. That is a correct sign. So signs cannot scroll anymore in Sturgeon Bay. They have to stay on, I believe it's for 6 seconds before they can change the message. They have to be auto dimming as the sun goes down. And so those will have to be built into our sign. And many sign manufacturers, they know our rules and our codes and our ordinances. And those will be built into ours, quite obviously, so that we can meet the ordinance of the city.
Done.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, are you looking for a motion to approve the signage?
Ultimately, yes.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Let me know when.
Anybody can choose to make a motion anytime they would like. Nancy?
When it says Door County Community Center, can I have a party there? You know, just,
Can she rent the space?
yeah, can I rent the space?
I can answer that. Right now, in the future, that's options that we are looking for, because it is going to be a gathering spot. So will it be available for rental in the future? Possibly. Again, obviously, when you say, is it going to be available for renting, so is it after hours? Is it during the weekend? Okay, what does that mean in terms of staffing and security and cleanup? So I think all those options, I think the reason why we designed the building the way it is, I think I guess the vision would be yes, but working out all the details, the costs, and all that kind of stuff is not yet in terms of how we have it programmed.
Just to point out, we'll go through a facilities usage review
Yep.
like we have for all the other facilities, and come up with a policy and application form, and so your answer is maybe. It's up to you.
Yeah, but as it, you know, it's a community center and it's Door County. Does that mean I get this for cheap price, an expensive price, like I go to a motel? I mean, you know, it's, because it's gotta pay for, it's gonna pay, it has to pay for its maintenance.
You gotta pay for a 4-night stay.
Yeah. In the summer.
But only use it for 3 hours.
Senior discount.
Ultimately, though, this body will decide all those questions when we approve the policies.
Yep.
Sorry.
Anybody else? Somebody care to make a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
What was the motion you were making?
That we approve the sign as shown on our Zoom or in the agenda
As presented.
as presented. With the electronic sign included.
Who was the second?
I was.
Sorry, Don.
No problem.
Linda?
One more question.
Sure.
Okay, so approve with the message board capability, are we going to set like a limit on that, or we're just?
Well, what happens
we
right
have
now
plenty
is
in the
that,
contingency
yes.
fund to cover that?
again, the property committee actually has the authority to approve change orders. So if you guys approve the design of the signage, we will get a change order, and then that change order will go to property, and they can adopt that change order. And we do have funds, not in our contingency fund, but our contingency project account for this project, and that's where the funding would come from.
Yeah, and then I would assume that everybody's in agreement with the Door County Emergency Services sign below. That I don't think that was an issue at all, that's worded appropriately, and I can't see where that will change down the road, so.
My motion was plural. Plural. Signs.
My second was plural.
Also?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? If not, since it involves expenditure of funds, we're going to go to the voter board.
Is this a continuation of the moving of our Sturgeon Bay Senior Center?
Yeah.
I was just wondering.
That has passed on a vote of 20 yes, 1 absent. Thank you. Done. Are there any oral committee reports? Any questions or comments after you have reviewed the vouchers, claims, and bills in your packet? Announcements. The next regular county board meeting will be September 19th at 9 a.m. Following that is the WCA conference the following weekend in Wisconsin Dells. Any questions on anything about the conference up to this point in time? The meeting per diem code is 822.
Mr. Chairman, if there's no further business, I make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
He wasn't even listening.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
It went over his head.